Here we will discuss about anatomic and physiology of nervous system. It is a vast topic, hence we will just review the important points regarding nervous system. The nervous system consists of two divisions, central nervous system and a peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system is divided into brain and spinal cord, and peripheral nervous system is divided into cranial nerves and spinal nerves. Together, central nervous system and peripheral nervous system forming the nervous system, total nervous system. So there is two parts, central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. This central and peripheral nervous system again divided into brain and spinal cord, cranial nerves and spinal nerves. Let's see about neuron. The basic functional unit of the brain is the neuron. It is composed of a cell body, dendrite and an axon. The dendrite is a branch-type structure with synapses for receiving electrochemical messages. The axon is a long projection that carries impulses away from the cell body. Here you can see the neuron. See, this is the cell body, and the big branch or the long tail is the axon. Long tail is the axon. This is the end of the axon, and the other branches you can see around the cell body is called as dendrite. So here in axon, the axon carries impulses away from the cell body. So from a message from here, it will carry away from the cell body. It will carry, the message will go through this axon, Here you can see at the end of the axon you can see synapses. So this end is connected with other neuron. So this axon will connect with other dendrite of the other neuron. So how this one neuron and the other neuron is connected means, this is the axon. This axon will go and connect with dendrite of the other neuron. So like this neurons are connected. Neurotransmitters communicate messages from one neuron to another or from a neuron to a specific target tissue. Neurotransmitters are manufactured and stored in synaptic vesicles. The action of the neurotransmitter is to excite or inhibit the target cell activity. Example for neurotransmitter is acetylcholine and serotonin. So here I told you that the messages will go from one neuron to another neuron or from one neuron to another tissue. So how this message is transmitted means, there will be some neurotransmitters present in the synapses. Synapses is present here. So from this synapses, neurotransmitter will go to the other neuron, or sometime it will go to some other tissue. So example for neurotransmitter are acetylcholine, serotonin. So this will go from this axon terminal. Here is the synapses. From this synapses it will go to the other neuron. So like this they will communicate message from one neuron to another neuron. So these neurotransmitters sometime start or excite or sometime inhibit some activity. Now he can see the anatomy of the brain. Just see the picture. You can see a lot of lobes here. Lobes. You can see thalamus here, corpus callosum here, then pituitary gland present here, then hypothalamus you can see, then pons, medulla oblongata, then spinal cord, cerebellum. We will discuss about all those things in the next section. See, anatomy of the brain. Okay. The brain weighs approximately 1400 gram in an average young adult. In young adult, the weight will be 1400 gram. When we become old, the weight will decrease. The brain we can divide into three major areas. One is cerebrum, brainstem and cerebellum. Cerebrum, brainstem, cerebellum. Here you can see cerebellum. Cerebellum, spinal cord is here. Brainstem is here, then this is the cerebellum and this is the cerebrum. This entire area is called cerebrum. The entire area is cerebrum, then here is cerebellum and brainstem. So these are the three parts of the brain. Let's see the first part, cerebrum. Cerebrum is composed of two hemispheres, the thalamus and hypothalamus. Thalamus and hypothalamus. Two hemispheres. So in this picture Here you can see only one hemisphere. See, this is one hemisphere. This is the one side of the brain. There is other side is there, so right hemisphere and left hemisphere. Here you can see only one side. If you see the both side, then you can understand there is two hemisphere. So cerebrum is composed of two hemisphere. Then there is thalamus and hypothalamus. You have seen hypothalamus here. Here is the thalamus and here is the hypothalamus. The two hemispheres that are separated by a great longitudinal fissure. The two hemispheres are joined at the lower portion of the fissure by corpus callosum. Actually, these two hemispheres, I told right and left hemisphere, is separated by a fissure. But at the lower portion, you can see the two hemispheres, that is right hemisphere and left hemisphere, is connected by corpus callosum. So corpus callosum connect these two hemispheres. The outside of the surface of the hemisphere has a wrinkled appearance called gyri. You can see if you see wrinkled appearance. Here there is a wrinkled appearance. This is called gyri. This will help increase the surface area of the hemisphere. The outer portion of the cerebrum is called cerebral cortex, is made up of gray matter, giving a gray appearance. So if you see the cerebrum, if you here there is a color is there, but if you see exactly the cerebrum, cerebrum means this area, okay, this cerebrum. If you see exactly the cerebrum, it is the outside of the cerebrum is made up of cerebral cortex. Outside of the cerebrum is called as cerebral cortex. It is made up of gray matter, so that there will be a gray appearance. The inside or innermost layer of the cerebrum is made up of white matter. So gray matter outside and white matter inside. And this cerebral hemisphere are divided into pairs of frontal, parietal, temporal and occipital lobes. So we can see here there are a lot of lobes. This lobe is called frontal lobe, the front side of the frontal lobe. Then parietal lobe is there, parietal lobe. Then here is occipital lobe is there. Then here will be the temporal lobe. So there are different lobes you can see. You can see here frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe, then temporal lobe. So there are different lobes in the cerebrum. So together we can call it as cerebrum, and cerebrum is having different lobe. Frontal lobe, this is the frontal lobe. Frontal lobe is the largest lobe, and the function of these lobes are concentration, abstract thought, information storage, memory, judgment, personality. This is not important, but frontal lobe is the largest lobe. Then you can see parietal lobe. Parietal lobe is situated here. This part is called parietal lobe. Parietal lobe is help for the orientation in space and spatial relations. Then temporal lobe contains auditory areas for hearing. Then occipital lobe for the visual interpretation. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Then temporal lobe. 4 lobe you can see here: frontal lobe, parietal lobe, temporal lobe, and occipital lobe. So these are actually these are not one lobe. It's a pair of lobe. You can see here only one part. There is others, and on the other side there is a pair, one more lobe. So there is 2 frontal lobe, 2 parietal lobe, 2 occipital lobe, and 2 temporal lobe. In the brainstem, if you see the brainstem, it consists of midbrain, pons, medulla oblongata. This is brainstem. In cerebellum, the cerebellum is separated from the cerebral hemisphere by a fold of dura mater. It is called tentorium cerebellae. So the cerebellum is separated from the cerebral hemisphere by a dura mater called tentorium cerebellae. The cerebellum responsible for the coordination of movement. It also controls the fine movement, balance, position sense, etc. So you can see here, see this is the cerebellum. This cerebellum is separated from the lobes or hemisphere by a dura mater. So this here it is separated. So this part is cerebellum, and this cerebellum helps for the movement, balance, position, etc. Structures protecting the brain. The brain is contained in the rigid skull, which protects it from the injury. Major bones skull of the brain, the major bones of the skull are frontal, temporal, parietal, and occipital bones. The meninges provide protection. Meninges means it's a connective tissue that cover the brain and spinal cord. It provides protection, support and nourishment to the brain and spinal cord. So our brain and spinal cord is covered by meninges. If you see the meninges, there are three layers for the meninges: dura mater, arachnoid matter and pia mater. Dura mater is the outermost layer, outside layer. It covers brain and spinal cord. Arachnoid matter is the middle membrane. It appears white because it has no blood supply. So if you check arachnoid matter, it is white color because there is no blood supply. The arachnoid layer contains the choroid plexus, which is responsible for the production of cerebral spinal fluid. So arachnoid layer contains choroid plexus. This produces CSF or cerebral spinal fluid. This membrane has also finger-like projection, arachnoid villi, that absorbs CSF. So if you see the arachnoid matter, you can see some finger-like projection called arachnoid villi. These reabsorb the CSF. Pia mater is the innermost layer. The inner layer is called pia mater. So dura mater, arachnoid matter and pia mater. So you know subarachnoid, if somebody is saying subarachnoid space, means it is the space between or below the arachnoid matter. Below the arachnoid matter is called subarachnoid space. About CSF is a clear colorless fluid with a specific gravity 1.007. CSF is produced in the choroid plexus of the lateral, third and fourth ventricles. So in the choroid plexus of the lateral and third and fourth ventricles, CSF is produced. The arachnoid layer contains choroid plexus, which is responsible for the production of cerebral fluid. Repeating again. This membrane also have a finger-like projection, arachnoid villi, that absorbs CSF. In normal adult, approximately 500 ml of CSF is produced each day, but 125 to 150 ml is absorbed by the villi. So 500 ml of CSF is produced each day. Cerebral circulation. The cerebral circulation receives approximately 15% of the cardiac output, around 750 ml per minute. 750 ml per minute is receiving by the cerebral circulation. Arterial supply is by at the base of the brain. If you check the base of the brain, there is surrounding pituitary gland. You can see a ring of arteries is formed between vertebral and internal carotid artery chains. So you can see a chain of arteries, vertebral and internal carotid artery. This ring is called circle of Willis, and this, so you can see circle of Willis. So the circle of Willis is a group of arteries. It include internal carotid arteries, anterior and middle cerebral arteries, and anterior posterior communicating arteries. So these all arteries will form like a branch. It is called a circle of Willis. This supply arterial supply. Venous supply is mainly by dural sinuses. It is a network of sinuses. Dural sinuses you can see in the dura mater. And there is some sinuses. It is a network sinuses. This will carry venous blood of brain, and it will empty into internal jugular vein, returning the blood to the heart. So dural sinuses which will carry venous blood to the internal jugular vein. From internal jugular vein it will go to the heart. In artery, what is happening? There is a group of arteries which will form a ring called a circle of Willis. This circle of Willis is made by branches of internal carotid arteries, anterior and middle cerebral arteries, and anterior posterior communicating arteries. These will supply artery supply. We will discuss some of the other things regarding central nervous system in the part 2.